Today's guest has garnered tremendous respect in teams for his leadership, his work ethic, and for being an outstanding teammate. He may well be the most physically intimidating player to have ever worn the green and white, and his presence on Panther teams in the late 80s was a major contributing factor to their success. He's since gone on to an extensive career as both a player and coach at the pro level. Please welcome Verdun, Quebec native, Gerry Fleming.
Here he is, all the way from Frankfurt, Germany, home of the Löwen. Gerry Fleming, great to have you on here today, buddy.
Well, thanks for having me, Norman. This is great. I was pretty excited to do this. I've been looking forward to it now for a couple of weeks.
Good stuff. So, Fleming, I want to go back to when you came to UPEI in the first place. What brought you here? What influenced you to choose UPEI as your destination?
Okay, here's the story on how I got to Prince Edward Island. Vince Mulligan had come to see me play with the junior Canadians. He was on his recruiting trip, and my mom used to work across the street from the Forum at a Greasy Spoon little restaurant that was open 24/7, 7 days a week. And my mom worked from 9 at night to 6 in the morning, 3 days a week. Well, Vinny had gone in there and found out, he had watched the games, and I don't know, but had found out that my mom was there, and then they formed a friendship. And, you know, my mom's from the Maritimes as well. She's from Guysborough. So Vinny, over the course of that summer, knew what time she would get home from work. She'd get home from work around 6:30, 7, and he would call every morning and, you know, talk to my mom, and, you know, smooth my mom up a little bit, and they'd be on the phone for about 20 minutes, and then he'd get my mom to come in and wake me up and shake me. She goes, "That's Vince Mulligan on the phone. He wants to talk to you." And be like, "Mom, come on, it's 7 o'clock in the morning. You know, you're 19 years old. The last thing you want to do is get on the phone." So he talked to me at least 3 times a week, and I ended up going there on a recruiting trip in August, me and Bob Giffen. And for most people, the island in the summertime is just beautiful, magical. You know, words can't even describe it. So I went there and had a great time and fell in love with the campus and the people, and ended up going there the following year.
Nice. So, Simon, it seems that when you got here, winning seemed to be almost the norm for you. You came at what we would call probably maybe the golden era of UPEI hockey, a series of championships. You won championships with the Panthers. You won a national title with the Charlottetown Islanders. If you look at those teams, what do you think it was that made each of those successful? Maybe some of them were different. Maybe there were some commonalities.
Yeah, first of all, we were all good players. I think you know, we were big, we were heavy, we could skate, we could make plays, and we had good goaltending. I think every team that, if you go back and look at the goaltending and the numbers, you know, they're pretty consistent with what you expect with winning teams. But most importantly, above all that, we were a tight group. We were really, really tight. Guys cared about one another. They wanted to play for one another. They knew one another. We hung out off the ice all the time. So, yeah, I'd say the bond over those years of just the cohesiveness of our group was really tight. So I think that led to a lot of our successes on the ice.
Right. And, of course, you had pretty good coaches. You know, you think of it, Vinny coaching at UPEI, Gordy Whitlock, one of the more decorated coaches in Prince Edward Island hockey history, both former St. Dunstan Saints teammates. Maybe as you look back now through a coaching lens, what do you think about them as coaches? Maybe thinking about what they were like then, and maybe now looking at it through your own perspective.
Well, I think the one thing, and you're right, Norman, we did have tremendous coaching. You know, the one thing is they let us play. They really, you know, their message, it wasn't so much the message that they delivered, but was the tone of their message. And that's something I think that's really important. I think your tone with your guys has got to be on point. Even you know, when you're trying to get a message across maybe a little bit sternly, I think the way that you deliver the message is really important. And the way they delivered their messages was on point for us, and we heard it loud and clear.
Right. One of the things that kind of stuck out for me, Flem, when I was looking through your hockey DB stats is you averaged a point and a half a game during your time here. So, for me, that was pretty impressive numbers. Like, and I got to admit, I was a little surprised, and I forgot that you put up those numbers. But if you think about that, when you came here, moving to that next level, how do you think your time spent here at UPEI helped prepare you to get to the next level in Fredericton and ultimately into the NHL?
Well, I think the opportunity, we played a lot of minutes, and just the ice availability at UPEI. We used to practice in the old barn there, and we can go in there anytime we wanted. There was really nobody on there. They had some skates, some public skates or student skates during the day, but at the end of the day, that ice was always available. So we'd get out there and go on by ourselves, or take a couple of guys out, or in between classes, and we took advantage of that. And I think that really, really helped a lot.
Nice.
So just being on the ice and practicing every day and working on things that you needed to work on, I think was really important. The success I had, and listen, I played with some great players. Like you just had to go to the net. Kept my game really, really simple when you're playing with. I think the one year I played with Randy and Craig Jenkins, two pretty good. Randy Muttard, pretty good hockey players. But no, I had the good fortune of playing with some great players that made my life a lot easier. And like I said, I just kept my game simple, put my stick on the ice into the net, and pucks hit me all the time. And either they went in or somebody was close enough to pick up a rebound after it bounced off my skate or my butt or my head or something. So it was a lot of good.
The size 13s didn't hurt either, did they?
Exactly.
So, Flem, if you think about, it was a pretty special time back around that time with being a Panther, being around UPEI. What sort of sticks out maybe some of your fondest, memories? You talked about coming here and falling in love with the Arm in the summer, but, you spent 4 quality years here. If you think about that, what sort of sticks out for you that as kind of the, the good stuff?
Well, I'll tell you what, I used to love walking around campus. It's a beautiful campus. UPEI is one of the nicest campuses. It's just really, looking back now, maybe you took it a little bit for granted, but it really is a beautiful place to go to school. I just had fun there. It was just a fun place to be. The people were great. I made so many friends. My time there, there's just too many things to really nail it down to one thing that I really, really loved about it. I love living at Blanchard Hall. I lived in Blanchard for 4 years. And that was great. Co-ed residents and the people there. And I think Noreen Gillen was running it at the time, and she was just fabulous. She made my life so much easier. Just the warmth of the people there and everybody helping, and it was just a great environment, great community, and I'm glad I got to live it and be part of it.
Right. So, Sam, I did a little bit of a mini survey. I fleshed out a couple of your old teammates and kind of tried to get a sense of what it's like to be the teammate of Gerry Fleming. And when I look at it, there were some interesting things that were said, some of which I can't repeat. But the commonality was this. They talked about your leadership. They talked about how you kept players honest on both sides of the ice, on the home team, on your team, and on the opposition. They talked about your tremendous work ethic, and they talked about what a great teammate you were. And some of them said that you were their favorite teammate. When you hear stuff like that, what does it make you think of?
Well, first of all, it gives me goosebumps because, like I said earlier, the guys I played with were great. We just had a ball. We had a ball playing for one another. We had a ball being around one another. And at the end of the day, the friendships and the bonds that we forge are for a lifetime. I played on some good teams, but I don't think the run that we went on at UPEI, I've never duplicated that as a coach or a player anywhere else. There was 3 years there. We may have lost, I'm going to say, I don't think we lost more than 10 games in 3 years. We had a tremendous group of athletes and guys, and it was just like, again, I can't stress it enough, the importance of the fun that we had together on and off the ice. And we loved playing for one another. We loved those games. I can remember my very first game. We went to Dalhousie or Acadia first, And Acadia played in that old barn with the fencing, like, you know. And I remember, wow, this is the real deal here. Like, I remember the first period, I felt really kind of intimidated and like almost scared to touch the puck or make a mistake. And then I went in between periods and I said to myself, Jesus Christ, man, get your head out of your ass and get going here. And that kind of turned it around, and we took off. We didn't know what to expect. That very first weekend, there was a lot of new guys. There was a lot of turnover in the team. I think myself, Richard, Little, I'm trying to think who else. Bob Giffen came in. There was a few others.
John Koppel, William McPhee, maybe.
Second year, I think. But the first year, we had like maybe 7 or 8 new guys. And a lot of the older guys didn't know what to expect. We had a few practices, and then we went on the road. And I think we split that weekend. I think we tied in Dalhousie. We came back late, and we won in Acadia, and they were supposed to be 2 powerhouses. And then I think we came back the next week to Moncton, played at home against Moncton, and we won both, but I can't remember. But anyway, we kind of went on a roll after that, and guys just were like, you know, we got something here. And we just started to get better and better and better. Yeah.
Good. So something that people may not know is that prior to you, one of the career paths that you were thinking about exploring was becoming a nurse. And, you know, if you think back in the 1980s, males going in becoming nurses is not a common thing, especially guys that are 6'5", 250 pounds who like to chuck the knuckles. But what was it that attracted you to that potential career path? I know you ultimately didn't do it, but I always found that intriguing that was a path that you wished to pursue.
Yeah, I thought about it because I really like helping people, servicing people. I think that is the ultimate when you can, pay it forward and continue to help and, And I thought about, I wanted to travel. I really wanted to see the world. And that was one of the careers that could offer, that opportunity to travel and help people out. So at the end of the day, I got called up, or I got a call that December when I had been thinking about it by the Fredericton Canadians, and I ended up here in Germany. That was in 1991 after we had won the Allen Cup. So I had thought about it, and for those reasons alone, like just to serve and to travel, I think that was a career that, had I not made it in hockey or gone, the hockey route, I think that I would have seriously considered going into nursing.
Cool. So, John, you ultimately did make it as a pro. You had 7 seasons in Freddie Beach, Fredericton with the Canadians. Racked up over 1,000 penalty minutes. You ultimately got to play for your hometown, putting on the big jersey with the Montreal Canadiens, where you got to play 11 games. Can you maybe talk about both of those? What it was like to be in Fredericton at that time with the American Hockey League, and then maybe what it actually meant to play across the street from where your mom worked.
My dad worked there. My second job was a security guard at the Forum. But yeah, it's funny how life works. I had played, I was going to go transfer and go to UNB for 1 year. So I had played senior hockey in Fredericton for the Alpines in 1990. And that year there, I came back to UPEI after that year. But that 1 year there, there were people that, had seen me play and knew me. And when Fredericton was looking for a tough guy in the American Hockey League, because the American Hockey League went in the next year, they had said, hey, Gerry Fleming was, here last year and he was pretty good. Mm-hmm. And one thing led to another. And Pauline Bordelot called me. It was interesting. I was living on Upper Hillsborough Street, going back to school, and I just called for a pizza. And I hung up the phone. Back in the day, they used to call you back to make sure your order was all right. So I hang up the phone, and 2 minutes later, I thought the pizza guy was calling me back, and it was Pauline Bordelot. And the first thing he says, can I speak to Gerry Fleming? I said, speaking. He goes, are you banned from hockey for life, or can you still play? And I'm like, what? What's going on here? And he said, I'm the coach of the Fredericton Canadians. We wanted to know if you'd like to come and try out. And it was right around Christmas break. So I said, yeah, sure. So I went over there Christmas break and ended up playing a couple of games, scored 2 goals in my first game. Signed a 25-game tryout. And at the end of the tryout, I had to make a decision, or they had to make a decision whether they were going to sign me or I was going to go back to UPEI, and they decided to sign me. And and I was fortunate enough to have some career, to have a good career, and to play in the Forum was magical. I remember my first game there. I was tying up my skates, and I remember going there with my dad as a kid. And I don't know if you've ever been to that old Forum and outside of Atwater Park, and the atmosphere and the buzz, and you'd come up from the subway, and there'd be people selling programs and scalpers, and there's people dressed up, and it was just an incredible vibe outside that. And as a kid, your eyes are just wide open to all this. From upstairs, and I remember thinking as I was tying my skates as a kid coming there. Now, some kid out there is coming to watch me play, and it was a great thrill to play in front of my friends and family and hometown. Just a blessed man, this guy. So
for sure. One of your old teammates, he referred to himself as Big Head. Wanted me to say hi to you. He said you were a bit of a mentor for him. I don't know what his name is. Maybe you can fill in the gaps on that.
There was a few guys I used to call Big Head. There's we had Needlehead. We had old Ron Hennessy. We used to call him Needlehead Ron. He used to sit right beside. Always tell me a joke every day. Some of the jokes every day. We come in with a new joke. Oh God, yeah. There's Murph. Oh Murph. I can't say what I usually say to Murph as soon as I see him, but no, yeah, a few good stories. I bet you they'd be coming in right now. Yeah.
Darcy Harris too. He wanted to say hi to you.
Darcy had a good career. Like good hockey player, tough guy. Like please hi to all these guys. Good people. Is Darcy on the island now? I think he's a teacher, isn't he, on the island?
Yeah, he's vice principal up at a high school up in the western part of the island. So he's going to be on. Actually, I'm going to be doing him in a few weeks. So
we'll
get him on as well. Yeah. Amen. So Slam, I think I'd be a little remiss if the pugilist lovers out there would want to know, inquiring minds would want to know who might be some of the guys that, if you look back over your fighting time, and let's be honest, that was a big part of your game, and if you thought about it, who might be some of the guys that, it's probably hard to finalize the list, but there might be a few guys at the top that you say, man, that was a one bugger to go up against.
Well, Kevin McCullough's tough. He played in the, had a pretty good career with the Oilers there, won a few cups. When he was in St. John's, Newfoundland, like we used to fight 3 times a game and then out. He was a pretty tough character. Rudy Polchek was tough. Robert's brothers were tough. Excuse me. Frankie Bialowas was another tough customer. They were all pretty tough. Rocky Thompson. Yeah. Rocky and I Rocky was my last fight, and then we coached together for 5 years in Oklahoma City. Became best friends. Yeah.
Interesting.
Last fight, Rocky. But no, back in the day, every team had about 4 or 5 guys that could really go and could play hockey. So yeah, you just knew that you had to be ready every night. That it didn't matter who it was, that they were gonna gun. And when you're 6'5", and I think it might have been 240 at the time or 245, you weren't allowed to lose. You just weren't allowed to lose. You're that big, you shouldn't lose to anybody. But guys are tough and strong, and they were getting paid to do the same thing that you were getting paid to do. So it was a real deal. So yeah, it was what you had to do. I had to do that in order to play. Like my skill level, as you go higher up the ranks, the skill set and the players are so good. And you in order for me to play, I had to do what I had to do. So
some guys enjoy fighting. Flem, did you enjoy it, or was it something that you felt you had to do, or was it something that you just saw as part of being a teammate and part of your role?
A little bit of both. I think there's times where you're just your adrenaline, you're just so fired up that you're going to fight. But I don't think anybody really gets into hockey to become a fighter. It just kind of evolved that way. It started for me in junior. In order for me to stay, I had to do something to get noticed. And when you play hard and you play physical, you're going to attract, those guys that, think that, hey, you can't play like that.
Yeah.
You want to play like this. And if you are going to play like that, you're going to have to drop the gloves. And that's, especially if you're hitting other teams. I always tell guys, like, if you want to, it's kind of on the way of the dodo in it right now. But if you really, really want to stir the other team up, go out and hit their best player and see what happens.
Yeah.
Like, no, I'm saying between the whistle, go out and play hard. Be tough to play against. And I don't mean by fighting or anything cheap or dirty, but go out and play them hard and be a pain in his butt all game long. See what happens. See if anybody on the other team comes and says, hey, that's enough. That's usually what happens. So
right. So you look at your post-career, Flem, 23 years as a coach, Florida, Oak City, Bakersfield, California, couple of stints. You had a time in Berlin. You're currently in Frankfurt. It's a pretty impressive career, man. Like when you look back at it, what do you think? Like when you look at that whole perspective, 7 seasons as a pro, 23 years as a coach, all those championships, pretty good life.
Blessed. Norman, I'm just a blessed man. Blessed beyond belief. I thank God every day I wake up. I really do.
Mm-hmm.
And it just, you don't even realize it. If you ask most guys that, are in the business and have some longevity, you don't even think about it. It just happens. And before you know it, you're here. Yeah. But again, I count my lucky stars, and I'm just really fortunate to have been given the opportunities and the sacrifices from other people. Like, you think about, to get here, there was people that had to sacrifice a lot of their time and energy to help me achieve, where I wanted to be. So I'm again thankful for all the people that, made those sacrifices in order for me to live and be given the opportunities that have been given.
Right. Flem, I could talk to you forever, I think. Your story is great, interesting, fascinating. I think I would speak for Islanders saying that we're fortunate that we had you here as part of the UPEI program, part of the Charlottetown Islanders. Glad you were here for 4 years. You left a legacy, and you left an imprint on your teammates. You left an imprint on the program. And clearly, you're doing it to this day, continuing to help others and make people better. So thanks for that, buddy. Thanks for hopping on. Merry Christmas. I don't know how to say that in German. I'd say it in German if I could. Frohe Weihnachten. There we go.
Well, listen, Norm, thank you for those kind words, really. But Prince Edward Island, the University of PEI, the people that I, played with and worked with, and like they left an indelible mark on my life, and I can't thank them enough. People like, there's people that come into your life and really change your life. And there's so many of those people on the island, like I mentioned, Noreen, and, the coaches that we have. But most importantly for me, it was always Vince Mulligan. Like, I owe that guy a debt of gratitude that I'll never be able to repay. But, this is an opportunity to thank him and all the others that helped me there and, made my time at university there one of the best times of my life. Thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, buddy. Keep going. Hope you have a great year and all the luck, all the best with the rest of the season.
Thank you. Cheers. Merry Christmas, guys.
You too, buddy.